Summer routines live or die by how easy they are. And honestly, if something takes too much effort, I'm out. That's why Groons is my go-to. It's my one daily pack of gummies covering my greens, vitamins, and minerals. Plus, it has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber, which is more than 2 cups of broccoli. No mixing powders, no giant pills, no hassle. I just rip open the pack and I'm done. They taste good and they make it easy to stay on top of my health, even when life gets busy. Save up to 52% with the code PODCAST at Groons.co. That's code PODCAST at GRUNS.co.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dawn Mitchell, and welcome to Dawn of Sports. This week, we're talking some volleyball, and I love it. I love it. First ever general manager and head coach of Major League Volleyball, Pedro Mendes, will be joining us. It all kicks off January 2027, but there's so much work to be done, and I can't wait to introduce you to Pedro if you haven't met him yet already. He used to be with the Gophers, but he is turning this town pro coming up.
That's right. This is Dawn of Sports. She's Dawn Mitchell from Fox 9 and TalkNorth.com. This is TalkNorth.com. Best way to listen to this show or any show you like at the network. Please subscribe to your favorite podcast app. We do appreciate it. We're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services studio, and our producer is Alex Haugen. Back to Dawn.
Well, we were joking before we started this podcast that Pedro was born and raised in Brazil, and now he is in the tundra of Minnesota. So, Pedro, I know you've been here a while. You were with the Gophers beforehand, but now you're bringing pro volleyball here to the Twin Cities. First of all, congratulations. And second of all, you must be so thrilled.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me here today, and thank you for everyone as well listening to this podcast. Yeah, it is. It is exciting. Exciting times. You know, it's just a very unique opportunity to grow something new, to keep developing the sport in the Twin Cities and in the state, and also bring to the big arena like the one we're playing at Grand Casino. Just great athletes that are gonna be able to keep helping again people to see what we can do at that level, which is something that we have never done here in the state. So I'm very excited about that.
Well, we all know this town knows volleyball well, especially young women in the past and the success that they've had. And now to see the rise of women's sports and to see whether it's PWHL, WNBA, just to see women have this chance. How important is it for you now to really be on the ground floor here in the Twin Cities to bring a pro sport to more women and to get eyeballs on the sport that you love so much?
It's just, when you talk about growth and talk about developing the game, it's just sometimes it's easy to find yourself in a cycle where you think about only you for college, and now with the pro, which is so new, we're literally giving a third. How do you even describe that? But you're giving a new opportunity for people that have never thought that was even possible. So I think here, I had my wife itself. She was a student athlete at U of M. She went through all of that club, scene. So she's really excited about what high school and club and college, all of those athletes having access to something that's very different. And, in the past, all of those athletes, they had to go overseas in order to experience that. So now they can stay in the West. And I think the most exciting part is that now we can play here and we can, let people that, again, never really even thought that was a possibility, having access to the game. So it is a very special opportunity again, and it's just excited that we're doing that in Minnesota.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Pedro's wife is Lauren Gibbenmeyer. She's still the all-time leading blocker at the U, 2-time All-American. I covered her when she was here. Amazing player. Your kids basically have no shot of not being athletic. That's what my guess is, right? I mean, they've got to be good. It doesn't matter. Coming out of the womb, right?
Yeah, I would see the 4-year-old, or I think her feet's already 12. She's wearing 12 size right now.
What?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. What's going on in my house right now.
Oh my goodness. Buckle up. That's all I have to say, Pedro. Buckle up. Get prepared. How crazy is that for you?
No, it is exciting. Again, I really like, the fact that my wife is from here and my daughter was born here. My son was born here. So I think we have a lot of ties to the community, and I just love that so much for us, for them, for the kids. Again, they're going to be able to experience high-level volleyball in the Twin Cities, and it's just it's just great after great. So we're very excited about everything.
All right, for the people that don't know anything about Major League Volleyball, I know a little bit. It's the third season. It's the longest running pro volleyball league for the women in the U.S., and it's a pathway to USA Volleyball. But there's different leagues, and it gets confusing because I've also heard of Love Volleyball. So what are the differences for people trying to navigate this early on before you guys hit the ground running in January?
Yeah, it is a little confusing. And I'm with you there. Ideally, we would like to, have a volleyball league and everybody kind of, all about the sport. But yeah, right now we're with, Major League Volleyball is year 3. It is the league that's been with pro volleyball in the West the longest. LOVB is another league that, if I'm not wrong right now, it's the second year. It's a league-owned type of league, right? So it's a team-owned type of league. They own the teams, and they have control about, over everything that happens within those organizations. And for us, the different is that we can have, basically the ownership groups in here on Major League. They are the ones. Or marketing or hiring, and they can run the way they wanted to do, and it just gives us so much more. We can kind of like set up the rhythm and values, and we can kind of set up a culture the way we want to. That is really hard to compare. So we feel like that was the way they want to do it. So when the ownership group, which is the wide organization, we're going over that process of like choosing which league what we gonna launch this thing. By far they realized that Major League was the way to do it. So that's kind of why we're here right now, and that's why we're competing for Major League Volleyball.
Well, it's got to be kind of cool for you because that Craig Leopold and the people that own the Wild, they know how to run a professional sports team. Yeah. So that must have been so exciting when this all came together for you. Was it a whirlwind? How did this happen for you?
Yeah, it was. So I was working with the U of M over the last 4 years, as you know, and it's a very unique space. Coaching volleyball at collegiate level, it is definitely like a privilege, and I felt like I was able to help a lot of those younger athletes for the time I was there, and had a lot of impact on their careers as well and in their lives, which is it is a special opportunity for someone that likes that piece. And I'm really I see myself as an educator, and I think education is something that it's just one of those privileges that you have in life if you have access to it. So it was seeing myself as someone that could help those athletes, from being not only a good athlete, but you could give them a lot of lessons off the court, which was an important piece as well. So during that process, I learned a lot, I shared a lot, but I never saw myself getting out of that type of lifestyle that early until, this opportunity came to place. So I was approached by Matt. Matt is the CEO of the Wild, and
Matt Makeup.
He let me know that they were looking for someone to take over this team, and they were looking for someone that had, international experience, someone that could recruit at that level, someone that could help them to organize things from the ground. And he just started describing the project and how he saw, this thing in 5 years from now and 10 years from now. And obviously, like with college, you have some stability, to a degree. And I had 2 little ones in my house, and I wasn't willing to move to another state to work. So I felt like that was hard to pass, right? Once he presented, we start connecting, and we had another meeting, and he brought me to a Wild game, and I could see that was real. He was like, yeah, this is what we can do in hockey, and I think we can do something like that in volleyball too. And then I was like, wow, yeah, so let's do it together. So I jumped on it, and here we are. We're in the process right now of hiring athletes, building the roster, working, with salary caps and managing all of that, and hiring coaches and supporting coaches staff as well. So there's just a lot going on, and not even speaking about, the community engagement and all of that. So it's exciting times for us, but it's been very busy.
More with Pedro in a second. This is Dawn of Sports, and we're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services studio. A reminder about TalkNorth.com. We also have a great lineup: Michael Russo, John Krasinski, Alec Lewis, Jeff Diamond, Mark Rosen, Don Mitchell. It goes on, as well as outdoor content. Check out TalkNorth.com to check out your favorite shows. And now back to Don and Pedro.
So, Pedro, you brought it up that they were looking for someone with international experience, and your resume is just loaded. You're in Turkey, you're in Sweden, where you were a two-time national and World Cup champion. Then you were at Northwestern before you even came to Minnesota. So, and like you said, you were playing from the young age. I believe it was 10 years old in Brazil. So you've been all over the globe for this sport. And I always say, whenever I talk to coaches in particular that have been all over the world, what do you think, coaching out of different countries and then coming to the U.S., how has that helped you the most?
Yeah, there are a couple of things when you talk about specifically volleyball, right? I think the system here, because it's a club system where, the athletes have to pay to play, that changed a little bit of how the game develops. For example, we can have up to 15 subs on a club level, which brings more athletes to the court. And it forces coaches and athletes to specialize on a specific position a little earlier on. Versus overseas, it's not the same system. You have only 6 subs, and most of those athletes, they have to learn all the skills in order to be on the court. We don't have that many opportunities as coaches to bring athletes to do some specific things on the court. So that itself helps you or makes you develop the all-around athlete, and that's kind of like what that level, professional level, brings back to, because here we can only do 8 subs in a professional level, and in college we are able to do all 15 again. So there's less subs to work with, and there's more developing on skill sets, that it's required. So it's definitely like what makes the difference of like coaching college and club and high schools in the West versus coaching overseas. So there's that big gap between club, high schools, and the college and the professional level. So that's kind of like what sometimes gives you a little more tools if you were part of that system early on, just because you're so used to that, versus now adapting to that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was going to say, how hard is that of a mindset to have only 8 subs?
Yeah, so internationally it's 6, right? All of the tournaments and overseas, all of the championships that you play, we're talking about 6 here. Major League is giving you 8, which is less than college does and much less than clubs and all of that. And I think the challenges for us is it is just make sure like during the recruiting, which is right when you're signing athletes, you already have a system in place and you know what you want there. Like right now I'm having the opportunity to like start a roster literally from zero. So I was able to really have in my mind what I wanted to build here as far as skill sets and systems. So I was able to like go and find players that would fit into what I need. And of course, based on what the rules are in the league. And I think that's kind of like the shift on mindset that you have to do, like just making sure like you are signing athletes based on what your needs are for that level that you're playing.
What do you think is the hardest position? Is it the libero? I mean, you hear that left and right, but as a coach, what do you think is the toughest position on the court for a player?
It is a very, very interesting question, because I think if you ask a middle blocker what the most, they're probably going to say the middle, because they jump, and sometimes they jump and they don't even touch the ball for long rallies or periods of times. And it's just interesting because my personal decision, I think being a setter is very challenging as well, because you're trying to make decisions in a short amount of time, and you're trying to encourage your hitters, you're trying to set them in the best possible situation. Sometimes 2 blockers, sometimes 1 blocker, sometimes no blockers if it's possible. Right. And you're trying to locate that ball in the spot that can allow the hitters to attack with range. And it's just a lot of things. And you're on top of that, you're leading your team and are being the person that has, like the most, hopefully, balance in all of the skills. So you can kind of like not only, like lead with your voice, but also with skills, because it's important that the setter plays clean volleyball as well. So it is a mix of that. But I personally, to be very honest with you, I think the middle blocker position is probably the hardest position in the game.
What did you play?
I was a right side. I played as a right side, and I had a run as a middle blocker as well. So I experienced a little bit of both.
Yes, you know that firsthand. When you're a middle blocker,
Yeah, I
it's hard.
do. I do. And so the funny part about being a middle sometimes that you embrace that work ethic really hard as a middle blocker. Like I never thought that I could work that hard until I play as a middle blocker. You jump, and you're really the first option offense. So it's really important that you're always approaching and jumping as hard as you can, because that's kind of like how the setters usually run their offense. They call you on one specific play set, and then everything starts there. And then if they're going to set you or not, doesn't matter. You're going to have to jump. And you jump when your team serves. You're blocking every parts of the net. So you're blocking the middle, you're blocking the outside, blocking the right side. It's just like a lot of jumping, and you gotta make sure like you're reading the setter, you're reading passes when the opposing team is serving at your team. Sometimes the pass is not there, so you're not able to attack the ball. It is just a lot of mind games that you're playing during the game that is really important, that you are just working conditionally without really worrying too much about the outcome, because you won't get many sets and you won't get many blocks, but you're going to have to work as hard as you can the whole time. It's kind of like a challenging space to operate sometimes.
Yeah, the mentality is the most important to kind of keep you pushing through that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And not everybody comes with that, right? Some people develop that as they play. Some people, hey, this is not for me. Thank you, coach. You changed my position, or I'm out of here. And but the most important thing, you understand how important that is for the team, and that's kind of like what a good middle blocker should always have, that work ethic and the team, team first type of mindset.
When you first came to the U, you were a volunteer assistant, but you were under Hugh McCutcheon, and we all know Hugh and his past and just his prolific resume as well. What did you learn most from him?
Just emotional control, right? Like that he's very knowledgeable, and he's always on top of his feelings. And I think that is something that it is really important for a coach. Like you got to make sure like you're in control of yourself before you're trying to lead other people. All right. So if you're a mess mentally and you're letting every play in the game kind of dictates how you're going to operate, that is going to be challenging for the team and the athletes to embrace the mindset that you need. So I think that was one of the first lessons. And obviously when it comes to volleyball, just very organized, very simple on how he coaches and teaches his skills. So I think that was a very it was a great year, and he was the reason why I ended up where I ended up. Right, he brought me to the West. He opened the doors of the U of M for me in my first year, and and he kept helping me through all of the process. So I'm very grateful for him and for what he's done for me.
I love that you mentioned emotional control, because it doesn't matter what sport what makes an athlete so good is the emotion that they feel for the sport, right? And what they pour into it. I have this conversation with people across sport lines. Like they'll say, I can't believe Randy Moss is that emotional. I'm like, but you don't want to take away the juice, right? That's what makes them great, but you want them to harness it. Is that a fine line as a coach?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. Like, I think it is. I was born and raised in Brazil, and it is a very emotional and passionate country. We play with a lot of feelings, and we are intense. And I think sometimes it hurts us in some certain moments. Like, we tend to put so much on the court, and we play at our hearts, that I think that gets in the way a little bit. So I learned right throughout my career as a player that, there were moments where I had to let that out, because that's who I was and how I was raised and the culture I was part of. But it was helping me all the time? Probably not. So there are times where, hey, this is when I maybe should slow down a little bit and be a little more in control of the things that we can control versus just feelings and emotions. And it's just like, I learned that a little bit towards my career as a volleyball player. And I think once I got into coaching and I was exposed to coaches that were a lot like that, they were, loud, and they are very emotional, and they thought that was kind of how things should be done. And then I was exposed to coaches that were not. And then I got myself into, other spaces of life as well. I went out there, tried to educate me a little more about those topics, and read a lot of books that helped me there too. And then I felt like that work with Hugh McCutcheon was a huge, moment for me as well. Like, we had a lot of moments off court that we sat down and we talked through the game and what was going through his head and what was he thinking and why he made some of the decisions he made. And it was very clear to me that, emotional composer, and it was one of the main strengths here. And I think that's kind of like one of the things I want to continue to develop as I go into this run.
Yeah, I think that's so hard too when you're younger. As we get older,
Yeah.
hopefully we learn that lesson, but when you have a young athlete too, that you
Yeah.
want to be bursting, it's kind of like, okay, I can't give them years of what I have experienced, but
Yeah.
I can try to bring them along, right?
I agree, especially being an athlete, right? If you were an athlete and you're a coach, a lot of the time I think that helps, but also can be at times it can hurt you depending on how your path went as an athlete. Because you're young, you played with a lot of passion, and you did things in a certain way, and then you got into coaching, and you think that all of those things that you did were going to help you to be as successful as a coach too, and that's not how it is most of the time. So I think that is just taking what helped you and some of the coaching styles that you have been exposed to as well, and then slowly shape that person that you're going to be as a coach. I think those are important things to take with you.
Well, now you get a chance to shape your own team, kind of a blueprint, if you will, for how you want this professional team to look. One of your first hires, I believe, assistant coach CC McGraw. What did you see in CC that made you want to, make that move?
Well, there are a few things. I think the first one is just who she is as a person. She's a connector. She's emotionally intelligent. She's really smart. She loves the game, and she's someone that people want to talk to. As I mentioned, like she's a great and warm person. So I think that was one of the main things, right? Bringing in close to you people that that are going to elevate the environment. And I think the second big thing here is just like another Minnesota tie, or like she's been through all of the steps here. She went to a high school, play club, went to the U of M, have been very successful in all of those places. And I mean, she's been coaching at Louisville for 3 years as well. She was very successful there. They went to a Final Four, Sweet 16, and Elite Eight. So it's just like someone that understands the community, understands how big the volleyball community is in Minnesota, has the knowledge, can talk to people, she can coach the game. It is just like, it's just so many reasons why she was the first hiring.
Well, it's going to be exciting because you have a draft coming up too, the first ever draft. When is that? And how, are you nervous for it? You excited? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the first draft that we're going to be part of, it's going to be in November, towards the end of November.
Okay.
And it is really important that we hold the knowledge of college sport. Like I coached the last 4 years, so I know I recruited a few of those athletes that are actually going to be in the draft. CC has been coaching over the last 3 years. So that is, there's a lot of connection between us and some of those athletes that are going to come on the draft in November. And it brings you a little bit of a mix of both, right? Like you're excited about what's coming up and the athletes you're going to have access to. You're a little nervous about hey, can we get the athletes that we want? But I think it is all good things, and feel a little nervous and be excited, and all of that is just like a part of the job, and we enjoy it. But I think my connections are going to help us as well during that process.
And you can have 14 or 15 and then up to 4 international players. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're right. So it's a minimum of 12, max of 16 athletes, 4 international athletes. And that's kind of how you can set up your roster.
And what are your thoughts? Everyone says we want local talent, but in order to keep a team balanced, it can't be all local. But how important is it to get a little bit of the local flavor, because there's so much talent, like you said, here in Minnesota?
Oh, it's huge. We wanted to stay local as much as possible if the talent allows us to. I think, if the athletes are coming up or going to help us, we're happy to keep them and develop them, because I think that's kind of like how the history, of Minnesota volleyball has has told us, if you look at back in the past, all of the very successful years from the U of M, I mean, a lot of Minnesotans on the court, right? So like kind of like that's the path right there. And I think at this level right now, yeah, we want to have athletes from the U of M representing us on the court. We want to give opportunities to athletes that are from Minnesota. And yeah, we want to keep growing the game here. The way I see it right now is I'm probably going to be around 14 athletes on that roster. Not going to max it, not going to be in the short end. We're going to be in the middle. And yeah, right now we got a few players signed from overseas, but not 4. We're at 2. And if you see fit for 1 more, 2 more, good. Otherwise, that's where we're going to stand.
Awesome. All right. So now I've got just a question for you. And I know it's generic, but I'm sure in some of these camps where you get some of the, younger players that come in, like my goddaughter is in Madison, and she's playing for a love club, believe it or not. Just this is her first year with them. And obviously I never played in gym class, right? So I never had played collegiate volleyball. So what do you think for young girls coming up, young women, is the most important? All right, they have the athletic ability. Is it the mentality they have to work on? I know that they have them training, they'll do, lifting, they do all of that stuff and they go through drills. But what do you think when they're young like that, when they're like 16, 17 years old, is the most important thing to learn as a young volleyball player?
Yeah, I think if you're talking about younger age, I would, age is even younger than that. I would experience different sports, and just be exposed to a lot of different things, different coaching, different motor learning programs, and I think all of that would be beneficial. And as you get a little older, I do think that, be a little more, specific to what you want. Let's say you want to be a setter by the time you were 12, 13. Yeah, it's spending a little more time working on the skills that are going to help you to be a good setter. But you have to remember the game is always play as a 6v6. So like, even though you're spending a lot of time on private lessons and, skills that are blocked, but you're still going to have to play the game with other people. So that being said, it's really important that you get yourself out there and play volleyball and play free, get your friends, bring your friends to the park and play, just pick up games and have fun. I think those are important pieces as well. Because I think what I'm noticing, again, taking it back to my experiences overseas, is that we play a lot, in other countries. Like we play a lot of the game and to be honest, not a lot of structure. Like we have a ball, we have a net, and we play 3v3, 2v2. We touch the ball, we set, we pass, we hit high balls, quick balls, and that continues throughout of your whole, teenage life. Like you're 12, you're 13, you're 14, 15, 16, 17. You're still doing that, and I think sometimes here in the West, it ended up being a little more structured than maybe you should, and it gets a little bit in the way of that development, right? So you're doing that thing, and you just lose a little bit of the playing free and learning, like with your own experiences playing in the park or playing with friends and other places. And I think that it's something I would do on top of all of those practices and weight room sessions and all of that. Just make sure like you also learn the game as it should be, right? Like playing outside with friends. And I think that is very beneficial as well.
So still love the game and enjoy it. And does it help to be various different positions when you're younger? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think when it gets a little bit more towards the 15, for even now in the US, is a little bit before that, like when 13, 14 years old, you already kind of know where you're going to play. But gotcha. I do think the earlier, the younger age, you should be exposed to different positions, right? Like if you are 10, 11, 12, and you're already playing volleyball, 13, I think you should experience different positions. And when it comes to now I'm 15, 16, now I have one position that I'm locked in, I'm going to play. But before that, it's really important that you're like, hey, you just exposed to all of the positions. You set, you pass, you hit, because I think you put you in the box early on, it can kind of it can get in the way of your development. There's a lot of things that can come out of you just exposing and learning and playing. And I think that is an important piece. Like the joy you said, that's huge. And I think that comes when you're playing for fun, a little more than when you treating that as maybe as a job, let's say that way, that can get, you lose that a little bit in a younger age. And I think that's something you should try to stay away from as long as possible.
No, Pedro, you have me fired up. I can't wait for this team to start. When will we know what the name is? Do we already know, or is there a process for that, or what is that?
Yeah, I'm excited too. So if you know, let me know, please. There's a company, a marketing company working on that right now, and
Nice.
they're connecting with the community, right? They're talking to a lot of volleyball fans in the area, volleyball players, former golfer athletes. They're talking to our ownership group, to coaches. They're talking to different people from different areas to just learn what the people want to see and what would make sense, for this team to be called. And they want this to be like, hey, they want people from Minnesota to feel like this is actually a Minnesota team. And, it's just a lot going on behind the scenes right now as far as like finding the name, the colors, the logo, even a mascot. So it's a working progress. We should find out maybe in the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Oh, that's sooner than I thought. That's exciting.
Yeah, this process has already been going for like 4 weeks at this point, 4 or 5 weeks at this point. So we'll learn a lot over the next 6 weeks. I'm really excited about that too.
Oh my goodness. Well, Pedro, I'm looking forward to it. The draft around November. In January 2027, Major League Volleyball is going to hit Grand Casino Arena. You're the GM and head coach. And I'm just telling you, I'm really excited for this. I love it when new pro teams come in town, but especially for women, because I think we're just kind of striking when the iron's hot for, people say everyone loves and watches women's sports. So I just am so excited for you. Thank you so much for coming on today.
No, thank you guys. It was wonderful talking to you. And I hope we got some good news on the volleyball team. And I would like to just invite everyone to watch us in January.
That's right. Everyone bone up on your terms, like kills,
A kill, an ace, monster block,
a dig.
Right? Yeah, a dig. We joke about monster blocks when it's a really nice block. We call it monster block. So there's a lot of like fun terms in volleyball that we're looking forward to educate our fans, the ones that have never been to a volleyball game. And obviously a lot of the Minnesotas have been exposed to volleyball. This is definitely a volleyball state. But if you have never been to one, I can't wait to have you in the building. You're going to love it.
Awesome. Pedro Mendes, thank you so much for joining us. I look forward to January coming up.
There we go. Thank you so much.